I used to make my own art calendars completely by hand. I'd print every page, do the binding, punch the holes and everything. And then if I messed up on the binding, which I did fairly often because I just couldn't seem to always punch those holes exactly where they needed to go, then I would lose 13 or 14 pages of prints that I made on my Epson with archival paper. So I was wasting a lot of supplies, and this made it really hard to turn a profit. But this year I found a better way to make and sell calendars with my art on them, and it's with print on demand. So in this video, I'm going to go over exactly how I made my calendars and what I'm going to do to sell them. Specifically, I'm going to provide tips for selling your art calendars that have worked for me in the past. This video is sponsored by Gelato. They are a print on demand platform that makes it super easy to sell your art. You can try Gelato by using my link in the description, and if you place your first order within 2 days of signing up, you get 50% off of it. So definitely seize that opportunity to get a test print of your calendar if you're wanting to make calendars this year. I've actually wanted to try print-on-demand calendars for a while now because I haven't wanted to make the calendars myself after the experiences that I've had with them in the past. And I have a lot of customers each year asking if I'm going to make a calendar. So I was really excited to try out Gelato, and it was easy to use. You just drag and drop your images into their website and they have all the features on there. You don't really have to design the calendar yourself. I mean, you do have to place your images in there, but they have different templates that you can use, so different styles of designs. I picked one that I think looks good with my art, but there's different arrangements of images in there. So if you wanted to have like 3 per page or 1 or 2, and I'm going to show you what my calendar looks like here in a minute because I designed it to where there was mostly 1 image per page, but one of the pages I added 2 just to see what it would look like. Back when I was printing the calendars myself, I used Photoshop, and so I had to figure out the calendar parts where all the days were myself, and it was stressful because I had to make sure that all the days were correct on the calendars. And then as it turns out, one of the calendar months I got wrong one time, and I had all of these people when it came to that month, they contacted me and they're like, well, you got the dates wrong. And I was like, oh great, you know, but they were already printed, so what was I supposed to do? I couldn't do anything other than feel bad about it. So I love the fact that I did not have to arrange the calendar dates and months or any of that stuff in there. It was automatically populated with that information. All I had to do was drag and drop my images, and that gave me so much peace of mind. After designing the calendar, I ordered a sample, and that's what I would always suggest. Order a sample before you decide to put it up for sale, whether you're selling it on your website or on Etsy. You want to make sure that it turns out good, because sometimes perhaps your images weren't the right color correction or something to where they printed it out and maybe the colors don't match. Maybe you just didn't align something correctly and you couldn't see it on the website. So it's always good to get in a physical copy. So here is my sample. You can see it looks really good. It's vibrant, the printing on there. It is a little shiny because there is sort of a glossy finish. It's not super glossy, but I would call it maybe more of a satin finish. But the paper is high quality. I don't think this is archival though, at least from my understanding. But it is printed well. It looks really good. And honestly, most people aren't needing an archival calendar. They're not even thinking about that when they purchase a calendar. They might be writing on the pages. They're having it hanging on their wall without it being protected by anything like a frame. I mean, they're not considering this to be something that needs to be archival. So back when I was making my calendars, I was printing them with archival materials because that's just what I had on hand. But this is a much better way to do it because actually this calendar looks better than the ones that I was making. I hate to admit that, but it is better because it seems more like actual calendar paper that it's printed on. Whereas when I was making mine, the pages, since they were a little thicker, there were so many of them that they would kind of, over the time as it was hanging on somebody's wall, they would sort of ripple a little bit at the very edges, kind of curl, and so they didn't lay completely flat when on the wall. But as you can see, this is completely flat. There's not a curl at the end of the pages. This is an 11 by 17. Well, I think it might be just like 11 by 16 and a half or something, but it's basically an 11 by 17 calendar, and it's the same calendar design that I would make when I made them myself, except I wasn't able to get this little nifty hanger in there. This is called a wire O binding, if you want to know the technical term for it. But I never could figure out how to cut out this hole and then get this in there. My binding was just this part, and then I made a hole in the calendar that they could hang it from, which is fine, but I like this a lot better. I think it looks more professional than what I was able to achieve by hand. One of the things that I was kind of apprehensive about this calendar though was how they said it was printed, because this is printed on a double-sided paper. And I was just wondering how that was going to look. Like, were any of the sections of the paper going to show through the other side? How was that going to function as a calendar? Because typically when you see calendars, they might be printed double-sided, but you just like flip them up, like if it's in one of the normal 8.5 by 11 ones. And so, I don't know, this one, I was like, how will it work double-sided? Because when I made mine, I had all single-sided pieces of paper. And that's why it took me 13 or 14 sheets of paper to make my calendars, because there's 12 months in the cover. So when you take this and flip it over, you can see there are two on here. But here's the cool thing. So you flip it over like this, and you've got January. And then all they do is flip it to the back for February. When it's time for March, and then you've got March and April. And I'm happy to report that you cannot see anything bleeding through from one side of the print to the other, because the paper is thick and really quality. Now I want to show you what it looks like to have two on here. You can see I put two vertical images. This is my cat, Mr. Samadhi, and this one is Panda Bear. So I thought the two brothers could be side by side in my cat calendar, which is really cute. After seeing the sample, I'm so excited to be able to sell these this year and offer them to my customers, because they're really good. And I wouldn't say that if they weren't good. I mean, as you know, if you've ever seen any of my other videos where I review things, I'm going to be straight up honest with you. And I was trying to look through this calendar and figure out negatives to it. And honestly, the only negative I can find is that a couple of my images, the colors weren't exactly perfect, but they were 95% correct. I mean, good enough that I'm not going to send in different files to get printed again, to take another test to see if I need to make them better. I mean, they are close enough matches. And considering the cost savings, because I'm not having to make all of these and then mess up some, like I've told you I did on lots of previous occasions. Also, I'm not having to buy a whole bunch of them in bulk, because that's the other option, right? You could buy them in bulk and get them at a lower price than what you would be paying Gelato, but you have to invest in like 250 of them. Then what happens if you've put out a couple $1,000s to buy 250 of these things, and then it turns out you can't sell all of them? Maybe you can't even make the $2,000 back. That's a lot of investment to put out for a gamble on selling a calendar. Whereas when you're using print on demand for a calendar, you only pay for the ones people buy. So it's a win-win for artists. You don't have to invest a lot of money. They do the shipping and fulfillment for you. And what I also like about Gelato is that they print their products locally. So this cuts down on emissions. For instance, my calendar that I got in the mail came from Illinois, and I'm in Kansas. So this is definitely better for the environment than it is if I were to have gotten this calendar printed in California or New York, for example, and sent all the way to me in Kansas. And now for some selling tips. What's worked for me is making the calendars limited edition, because honestly, they're going to be limited in the amount of them that you make anyway, because typically people are only buying calendars from, let's say, September all the way through January each year. Aside from that, they're not interested in buying calendars, and you can only make your calendar for 1 year anyway. So it's super easy and makes a lot of sense to call it a limited edition calendar, because it is. I like to make the edition small, somewhere around 50 or 100. And this year I'm going to do an edition of 100. But back when I first started making calendars, I made the editions of only 25. So that way I would for sure sell out, because I like the idea for customers to know if I'm selling out each year, and definitely tell your customers if you sell out, make sure to post it everywhere. So that way the next year when you offer your calendars, they'll buy them quickly, because they want to make sure to get one. And this is why the limited edition feature is so good, because it creates urgency. Any way that you can create urgency in the mind of a customer to get them off the fence and actually purchase is a good thing. Plus, you're creating something that's exclusive and special. It's a calendar that you can sell for a little bit more money than they would be buying a calendar, for example, at Walmart or perhaps the calendar store in the mall. This is why you can ask a $30 price for a calendar of this size and get it, because it's exclusive. It's from an artist they love, and it's something functional that they can use throughout the entire year. And I love this because as an artist, any way that we can stay top of mind with our potential buyers, with our target market, is a good thing. And if this person who bought your calendar and their entire family is seeing your calendar hanging on the wall every month, and then they get to enjoy a different piece of your artwork every month, you are staying top of mind. So then the next time they need to buy a gift or perhaps an artwork for their wall, like they move into a new home and they have some extra wall space, they will definitely be thinking of you. Calendars also make great gifts, so make sure to market them as gifts when you're doing any of your promotion on social media or to your newsletter. And the last thing is, if you're an animal artist, and this is something that is tried and true, if you have a bunch of different portraits that you're thinking about including in your calendar, if you've done these portraits for a particular customer, send a special message to that customer. Say, hey, I chose your pet's portrait for April in my new calendar. And you can even nudge the sale a little further by offering them an exclusive discount code because you featured their animal in your calendar. But oftentimes, if there is a person who bought a portrait from you and then they have the opportunity to get that portrait in any other medium, let's say a calendar or a mug, anything that you can make it on, they oftentimes will take advantage of that. This means that if you have 12 months in your calendar and you put a different person's custom pet portrait as a different month each month in the calendar, you could potentially right off the bat have 12 sales by just sending out those special emails to your past customers. So if you've been thinking about making art calendars this year, I highly recommend that you try Gelato. Remember, their link is in the description, and if you click through that, you will get 50% off your first order if you make it within a couple of days of signing up. And this is a limited time offer, so I would suggest definitely doing that if you're wanting to get your test sample in and you want to get a move on it anyway, regardless of who you are having make your calendars, because it's the time of year right now to start selling them. And if you'd like to learn more about increasing your art sales during the Christmas season, I've made an entire video about it. You can check that out here. I hope it helps, and thank you so much for watching. See you next time.